everyone, and this is my review for WWE Friday Night Smackdown on December 14th, 2012. Basically, just to go off and say, pretty much the whole show focused around one area, and that was pretty much the Big Show and Sheamus area. I'll get into that a little bit later. Otherwise, the show wasn't wasn't all that great outside of one match. The Kaitlyn-Oksana match was just dreadful and bad. It just goes to show how bad, at least how bad in the ring Oksana is. She pretty much just held a chin lock the entire time before Kaitlyn performs pretty much the comeback and ends the match. It was just a bad match to watch, and it was it pretty much served no purpose whatsoever. Also, the match with Epico Primo and the Primetime Players versus Khali, Hornswoggle, and Justin Gabriel and Tyson Kidd. It wasn't too bad when Tyson Kidd and Justin Gabriel were around in the ring, but I haven't been liking the whole pairing with Hornswoggle and the Great Khali, and obviously Natalya's in there as well. It seems like they're going to have a little bit of butting heads with her and Rosa for the time being. Once again, just another match that was kind of out there, which is kind of sad considering this was the go-home show for the pay-per-view as well. You figured they would put a little bit more emphasis on some of the other storylines going in there, and they did do some of that, but they didn't really do too terribly much. Most of the focus was once again with the Big Show and Sheamus. Though there was a couple really good matches in there. Oddly enough, the Big Show R-Truth match was fairly entertaining to watch, as well as the Alberto Del Rio and Kofi Kingston match. I was actually glad they went with Kofi Kingston over Alberto Del Rio in this case, because it kind of allows him to build some momentum in there. You also, I believe, get a little bit of interaction between Kofi Kingston and Wade Barrett afterwards, because they're obviously going into the pay-per-view match. As well as a little bit of interaction with R-Truth and Antonio Cesaro, because Cesaro and Sheamus were out there for the R-Truth Big Show match. That was a little bit of the tidbits that they were going into. A little bit of tidbits adding to the storylines going into those two particular title matches, into the pay-per-view matches themselves. It wasn't really much of building, but it kind of just, sent the message like, this is the final message going into the pay-per-view, which it came off a little weak in my mind. The strongest point of the show was the entire Big Show Sheamus interaction. After the match with Big Show and R-Truth, you have Antonio Cesaro pushing Sheamus into Big Show, making him think, and then they go on this whole story of the whole night about whether or not this violates the no contact clause, all this, getting David Otunga out there to try to say, hey, we're going to bring this upon the board of directors, we're going to get this match taken out, and then Booker T fired because he wasn't going to call off the match. That aspect of the storyline, I liked it a lot, because of the fact that you had Big Show doing everything within his power to try to get the match canceled. It shows that he maybe is a little bit of afraid of Sheamus going into the actual pay-per-view match, and he was more than willing to do anything he could to keep the title. So I liked what they did there, in those entire segments. So yeah, like I said, outside of the interaction between Big Show and Sheamus, and obviously you had Antonio Cesaro a little bit in there as well, because he did have a match with Sheamus later on in the night, which once again, those two put on a great match a few weeks ago, and they did a great job again this week on that. But overall, I felt for the go-home show before the pay-per-view, especially for the go-home Smackdown, it just came off a little weak in my mind going into the actual pay-per-view itself. So outside the tidbit with the main story of Big Show and Sheamus, and of course a couple good matches with Kofi Kingston and Alberto Del Rio, and Sheamus and Antonio Cesaro. SmackDown this week was fairly weak in my mind, and it's kind of sad considering it is that go-home show. So that is my review for WWE Smackdown this week. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.